Hey, everybody. Welcome to our Honest Conversations Transitioning to Adulthood webinar. My name is Lindsay Garcia. I'm the Executive Director of the 22Q Family Foundation. I'm very excited for tonight. We had a few technical glitches on my end, but we worked them out. And so I apologize for being a few minutes late. But this webinar, we're very excited to be offering to all of you. This is a question that we get asked probably more than any other question. I'd say primarily from newly diagnosed families and also some younger adults is just what is life like for an adult living with 22Q? For a lot of us, younger, when we get our child's diagnosis, whether it's young or old, you kind of are entering this new world that you've never known about before. And you're asking lots of questions about, independence, what are their interests going to be? How am I going to need to support them when they're older? And I'm pleased to report that, obviously this is going to be a snapshot of what adult living looks like, living with 22Q in our community. We have 3 individuals, but all these 3 individuals have so much to offer. They have such inspiring stories that they're going to share with you tonight. And just their skills and interests are so incredible. I'm very excited to be sharing them with all of you. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and take care of our agenda. One second. I'm having, again, technical difficulties. One second, guys. There we go. Okay. So here's our agenda for tonight. The welcome and some housekeeping items, which I'll share in a second. Then we're going to have a presentation by Jason Osborne, who is our career coach for Career Pathways. And he's going to talk about a variety of different things that he's learned over the years working with adults in our population. Then we're going to welcome our panelists. And then we're going to leave a significant amount of time for Q&A. This goal of this webinar is to take up to 2 hours. So usually our webinars are about 1 hour, but because we have a list of panelists, we wanted to make sure to give them proper time to talk about themselves and also to give you time to ask lots of questions. And then we'll have some final thoughts and resources. So just to kind of keep in mind, before Jason gets started, for some housekeeping, this will be recorded. So if you don't want to take notes and just kind of sit back and enjoy, this will be on our YouTube channel in the future, and we'll also send out a link for you to view this at a later time. Secondly, I just want to acknowledge the fact that our panelists are really putting on a lot of courage to talk to you guys tonight. And so please try to make sure that when you're asking questions to them in the chat or the Q&A, that you make them more general so that we're not putting people on the spot. We do have a list of questions that we've kind of worked on, Jason and I, to prep them ahead of time so that they can properly answer those. But obviously, if you have any additional questions, just kind of keep them more general. That would be great. So I think that's all I was going to cover. We're going to go ahead and introduce our first panelist. Jason Osborne is a volunteer career coach, leveraging his background in human resources and formal education, which includes a master's degree in HR and a professional in human resources certification. He is a director of human resources with Wonderful Citrus, supporting Wonderful Halos business. The Osbornes had a baby named Shanna, born in 2016 with 22Q. Within a week of birth, Shanna had open heart surgery. Unfortunately, at around 3 months old, Shanna passed away due to heart failure. Now, Jason and Clarissa look to give back to the 22Q community, and what better way than to help with career coaching? Annually, they offer educational scholarships to those with 22Q through a foundation they created in the name of Shanna. Jason and Clarissa have 3 children besides Shanna. In their free time, the Osbornes like to travel, hike, and explore the outdoors. They have lived in Idaho, Nevada, Utah, and North Carolina. And now, California, I just realized we didn't add to your bio. Clarissa and Jason enjoy running, and most recently, Jason started Spartan obstacle races. So please give a big warm welcome to Jason.
Thanks, Lindsay. Appreciate it. I just from a logistics standpoint, if individuals have questions, can they use the Q&A box or the chat box, Lindsay, at the bottom as well?
Yes.
Okay, great. Yeah, so feel free as we go through here to put your questions in so that we can make sure that we address them as well as we go through. So appreciate the introduction there that Lindsay gave. Really told our story. We started with career coaching in 2017, shortly after we found out about Shanna and what what we really looked at is we didn't know what the future would be for her. As many of you don't. You can't tell the future. You don't know, what will happen. You go through the emotions of the unknown, and for us, Shanna's life was a short one. She impacted us, of course, in her short few months. But what we really wanted to look at is, how do we have Shanna's, her memory live through those that we can influence through the 22Q Family Foundation. So we also do scholarships, but what's really rewarding is being able to work with young adults to navigate the world of life after high school, but more importantly, even during high school. And I'll talk through some things that I've found that have been helpful for our young adults, and we can definitely talk through some trends. That's a key thing, that it's important to look at trends, but realize that especially in our community, every situation is very different. So you can go to the next slide. All right, so what is Career Pathways? You've probably heard of it. If you haven't, that's great as well. So Career Pathways is a service that's offered by the 22Q Family Foundation, and it's really looking at how we can help individuals individuals and families make decisions on what happens next after high school. And the reason I mentioned it's important to start early is because these decisions, they come very fast, especially at the end of high school. So the first thing that we do is we really help out with resumes and practice interviews, making sure that individuals feel comfortable speaking with those outside of their family. And I've found that the individuals that we work with, a big part of that growth is even speaking with me. When you're talking with someone else about what you like and what you're good at, it already builds skills. And I'm a firm believer that any of these experiences, like Lindsay mentioned that we'll have some panelists today, these experiences help them grow, and all of these experiences are really meant to help build different skills. So it's also important to understand where is the investment best spent. So there are many times where individuals, usually it's family members, that are looking at either a sibling who went a certain path, or friend, maybe a friend who's going a certain path. And instinctively, I think somewhat human nature, we say, well, this is the path you go on. You graduate high school, then you go to college. And, I think society has built some of those somewhat norms, and they've created this feeling that, okay, if you don't have a bachelor's and a master's degree, then how can you be successful? And I can tell you, with the about 6 years that we've worked with young adults, there are very successful young adults, and their path may be different than that. It's not saying that some will not go that path, but I've also seen quite a few individuals who end up with degrees that they aren't using. And that's part of the reason why I talk about spending time and money, because that will take, let's say it takes, took me 5 years to do my bachelor's degree. So let's just say conservatively, it's 5 years. That's time and money that's spent, that if it's not used, it can be a big challenge there. And the other thing that I like to build with the career pathways is a network. The more we get together and get to know each other and learn how to support each other, the more we'll be able to help each other, even if we're geographically spread out. So as Lindsay mentioned, I'm in Central California, but we work with people all over the country, and it's really important to create that network. You can go to the next one. So it's individualized. So something that I like to call out here is that it's very, while we look at similarities and and feedback from our young adults that we've worked with. And I'll go over those here in a couple minutes, but it's really important to look at all services when it comes to working with our young adults as individualized. Each situation is unique. Each path is going to be unique, and hence the name Pathways. We like to look at what are your interests and skills. We find that there are individuals who really want to do something that they're interested in. And that's good, but we also have to find out what the skill is. There's times where we may be interested in something that isn't something we do long-term as a career, or isn't something that we do even part-time, but it's a great hobby. And it's important. What I like to talk through is how you can still use that hobby and that interest, but also look at how you build your skill, which sometimes requires, most of the time requires stretching, right? Doing things that are difficult, that aren't always comfortable, like the conversations we're having today with some panelists. They're doing something outside of their comfort zone, and we definitely appreciate that. The resume review is important for really. I firmly believe that creating a resume is important. A big part of it is so that we can understand ourselves. What are the skills that we've done many times, or what are the experiences we've had that have built skills? And many times we go through things, but we don't take a step back and actually write down, wait, what did I learn from that? Or how did I grow from that? And then mock interviewing. So no one likes to be interviewed. It doesn't matter who you are. Interviewing is challenging. So creating those practice sessions where we can go through and say, tell me about yourself, and let's talk about your greatest strengths. Let's talk about your greatest challenges. I will say that the individuals within this community have so much to offer when it comes to the resilience, the ability to overcome challenges, the ability to really be patient through things. I know it may not always come across that way, but just the challenges that individuals have to face in this community bring that out. And it's important to be able to share that with others. And if you can't share it in an interview or in a conversation, then it's very difficult for someone on the other end to get that message and figure out how they can have you help them meet their needs. I have been in human resources for 10 years. So I spend almost every day in my day job interviewing people, finding out, who is the best person to hire. I also know the laws around employment, and there are protections for those who have different abilities, and I think those are important to help navigate. So I can definitely help with that as well. So that's a little overview of what Career Pathways is. We can go to the next slide. So what are the trends that we're seeing? There's a lot of opportunities when it comes to full-time or part-time employment. I would say that many of our young adults have skills in using their hands or using a talent that they have. And that doesn't always mean that you need that bachelor's or master's degree. Notice that I listed that last. And I listed that last because all of the other 5 areas there are overlooked at times. Internships. Well, what if they're unpaid? Well, if they are, that's still experience that you can get. What volunteer opportunities? Are those really experiences? Yes, absolutely. That helps build the skills needed to continue on after high school and beyond. What about a community college? Maybe a junior college to get an associate's degree. I highly recommend, and something that's been effective for many of our young adults, is to ease into anything that they are doing, which means that maybe it's a community college that's close, and taking a couple classes at a time, just to get in that mode of, oh, all right, this is school again. But I would caution on that jumping right to the bachelor's and master's, because what we found is that while many of the universities boast that they have an office that someone can go to and they can get support, it's very challenging, and it's as many challenges that come with IEPs. It gets even worse in college because these professors are not as interested in really navigating this for one person. Some of their courses, they have 40 to 50 people, so it's very challenging for them to really focus in on one person. So I really think that the trade technical school volunteer opportunities and internships have been the most common really path that our young adults have taken. Can go to the next slide. All right, so I wanted to pull in here some advice from young adults. This is just things that we've learned in the trends from the young adults. So when I asked a little bit about what advice would you have for your parents, these are some of the things that they shared. Now, I'm going to always give a caveat that every situation is different, but the trend that I have seen in my one-on-ones is that it's difficult for parents to know when to step in and when not to step in. And I don't pretend to know what that's like. Obviously, I'm not in the same situation, so I hope that one of the results of this, bringing this group together, is that it can also start that discussion amongst parents of how do you navigate this, the independence piece. And luckily, we have some parents of our panelists who are here today too, so that will be great. But this was a piece of advice. I wish they would have challenged me to live on my own when I was younger, since I didn't get to later in life due to health issues that would arise. So I think you have to figure out what that looks like. It could be summer. Maybe it's going to live with a family member during the summer, so they're outside of the house. I have seen situations where young adults will say that they want that, and then they go on their own and they realize, wow, that meal I need to cook, and that apartment or the room I need to make sure I'm doing that. There's really not a lot of support with that. So I think it's just important to challenge in a way that's best for your young adult to have that independence a little bit at a time. Yep, perfect. The next one is, be aware that your child may end up not being able to work full time, but not all individuals with 22q experience the same thing. So obviously, go back to the caveat there, but I think it's very common within our community to have young adults work part-time, and it may take a little bit for them to find the right fit for them. Even if it's one part-time job, I like this about this one. I maybe didn't like that about that one. What I do like to explain about career pathways and navigating work is I'm here to support through that as well. Because even the conversations with supervisors, with coworkers, you have to navigate that the right way. So yeah, you can go to the next one there, Lindsay. All right, so advice, another couple pieces of advice: just be there as someone they can vent to about their health, medical issues, help them do research on medical issues, and don't leave it up to your child to navigate the healthcare system. I think it might contradict what I said before, where some parents are overly involved in their child's life and have a hard time separating and challenging. There also are situations where maybe the parent feels like you should be able to step it up and do what you need to do, like others are doing. And the advice I would have for parents in that situation is that tough love can be helpful, right, in certain situations. But it's also important to remember that if you look back on the entire journey this person has had, it's always been with a little bit of support and a little bit different than others may be, and that's not going to change. It doesn't magically change after high school. And so I think that the medical side, the healthcare system, I think being able to be involved there and help navigate, because what you can't what's hard to set aside are the challenges that come with 22Q. Each one is different, but what I would say is that every situation can be shared in a way that they've built a skill because of these challenges. I think it really can be, it's not really spinning it into something positive. It's just bringing out what's real. This is fact. These are true skills that they're learning that others probably don't even get that opportunity. All right, so this last piece that I like to share is the law protects those with disabilities. And what's really important to understand is, how do you navigate that? Many adults and parents ask, I will need certain accommodations. Do I say that at the beginning or do I wait? And I'm not going to get too in depth in this because it could be its own webinar. But in essence, it's best to time it right. And the advice that I would have if you're making notes is, don't overshare. It can be difficult for some. They may feel like they're hiding something from a potential employer or someone that's giving them the opportunity. It's not hiding it. We're just going to time it in the right place, because you want them to make their decision based on you as an individual, not based on what any accommodations you need are. For example, hey, I need to be able to take one extra break a day. If you go right into the interview and say, here's my full medical history, and I know that we're used to doing that, right? We're used to disclosing. I want to make sure you know where I'm coming from. But in the employment world, it's a little bit different. What you may say is, you interview, you go through the process, they give you an offer, and then you come in with, here's what I will need based on the offer that you've presented. At that point, once the offer is made, that an employer is legally obligated to make accommodations unless it would cause an undue hardship, which most employers will have a very difficult time calling it an undue hardship. They're most likely large enough to have many employees that someone can cover for that period of time. The example I shared with the extra break. So yeah, that's those are the areas that I wanted to share. Some areas of focus. Obviously, there's more individual. Each individual is different, so we work through this on a case-by-case basis. And as we go through after our panelists, it'd be great to be able to answer any questions that you might have about what I've shared.
And I just wanted to share this testimonial from Ethan Sands. He was one of our Career Pathways alumni. Him talking about his job. I won't read it because you can read it for yourself. And I did forget to mention at the beginning of this presentation that I tried as much as possible when putting the slideshow together to have images of all different adults living with 22Q for your viewing pleasure. So I'm going to go ahead and we're going to start welcoming our first panelist. So Gracie, if you don't mind turning on your camera. There she is. Hi, Gracie. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce them. Gracie Chavez was introduced to the 22Q community when she was diagnosed with VCFS at the age of 2. Throughout the years of never having any resources and not knowing anyone who could relate to her syndrome, she went to see a new geneticist with her mom, Monica, who we see here with us. Thank you, Monica, for coming too. And that's when they discovered a new name for VCFS, 22q11.2 deletion syndrome. She educated herself about the syndrome. She connected with other 22Q members. And since then, she knew she wanted to help and share awareness, and is also an intern for the 22Q Family Foundation, helping connect and support young adults and adults with 22Q. She loves spending time with her family, blogging, and is a floral designer and loves doing weddings and special events. Gracie is 26 years old and lives in Elmore, Ohio with her mom and dad. She has one sister and 3 brothers. She is the youngest in her family and the only one with 22Q. Gracie is also sharing awareness and constantly reaching out to young adults with 22Q. She has worked to design apparel designs through the Outshine Labels platform that we use and to help raise funds for us. And she's always saying, this is my journey and I love it. That way she can always remember that she can do it and never give up. And she is joined by her mom, Monica. Welcome, guys.
Hi.
Well, just wanted to start by saying Gracie has a special place in my heart because I can still remember her reaching out to me and the foundation and really just has been, I feel like, full force ever since. You're always wanting to take on more responsibilities, do more things. If you ever get any of our mini pamphlets that we send out, that is Gracie's like almost full-time job at this point. We're always getting that comes right from Gracie. So Gracie, I'm going to go ahead and pull up your slideshow, and this is kind of your opportunity and I can help guide you along, but anything that you would like to share with us.
Yeah, so I'm from Toledo, Ohio. We have a little guest here. Sorry about that. This is my nephew, David. I have 5 siblings, I guess, and I'm the only one with 22Q. My other sibling happens to live in San Antonio, so he doesn't live here. Let's see. I love Legos. I am a Lego lover. I have a lot, and he is too. He wanted to point that out. I don't know what else.
Why don't you talk about what you've done with the designs through Outshine Labels, and we can talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so the design is Embrace Your Journey with 3 sunflowers. And then I have an elephant one, which is inspired by my grandma because she loves elephants and she taught me how to love elephants as well. We both happen to collect them as well. And Embrace Your Journey is basically remembering to you that your journey is still continuing no matter what. So, especially when you're older, it doesn't stop when you're little. So, yeah.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, so Gracie has worked, for those of you that are familiar with our 22Q store through Outshine Labels. It's an amazing platform that gives storefronts to different nonprofits and families of children with either medical needs or different abilities, and a percentage of those profits will either go to the individual or to the foundation. So the 22Q Family Foundation has a store, and within that, Gracie actually has her own storefront with 2 different designs, and we are about to be meeting next week for our 3rd design.
Yeah.
We'll save the details of that for later. But yeah, it's just amazing to work with you. I feel like you're always so positive. I got the chance to finally meet Monica and Gracie at the nationwide family conference that usually happens every 2 years in Ohio at Nationwide Children's Hospital. It was great to finally meet you guys in person after talking all these years.
Yes.
Monica, is there anything you want to share? But we're obviously going to go back to Q&A later, but is there anything that you want to share?
Well, I would like to just share that as a mom, the journey has always been amazingly crazy. Some days it's good days, some days are bad days, and that journey doesn't change just because your child gets older. You know, that the journey changes, but it's not as hard, and you just got to be positive. And I think that's what makes all of this a wonderful organization, is that you can lean out and reach out to people who are positive and can help you. So this has been a great way for us to meet, families just like Grace.
Exactly. And I think what's so interesting about your story, when I shared in the bio, and obviously when I first met you both, is that we have this kind of same name campaign, multiple organizations do, with, calling it 22Q and not necessarily DeGeorge or BCFS, because not everyone truly presents as either of those. And we can save more of the details of that for another day, as far as the explanation behind that. But when you have multiple names, it obviously makes awareness that much more challenging. And I was just hoping maybe you guys could briefly just talk about, like you went like the majority, a long time of her life with
Yeah.
diagnosis, and
From her age of 2 until about 21, we were always told that it was VCF. And back in the day when Grace was, diagnosed, we still had dial-up internet. So we got online. I specifically got online to try to find what I could, and there really wasn't anything out there. And what I did find, everything was in the UK. And I thought, well, I'm not going to take a trip there. So let me just try to figure this out myself. So between, the doctors and the geneticists and just hearing all the really crazy stories when you self-diagnose on the internet, it was just crazy to me, like what was going to happen. So you kind of just, for us, I just kind of took a look at how she was, what she was doing. And I just kept telling her, you have a disability, but you have an ability. Your ability is to be better. Your ability is to find your strengths. Where you have weaknesses, we're going to work on those, but we're going to make it better. You learn differently. You don't just, throw it aside and say, oh, throw your hands up and I'm done. Yeah, we came from a very, very different time of where, how do we figure this out?
Mhm.
And then turned 21, Gracie was ready to embrace her journey and, let people in the family besides, family and just a few friends know the outside world, hey, I've got 22Q. And that's like you said, when you came along and kind of opened up a whole new Gracie to me, because I didn't think this shy little girl was ever going to break out of her shell. So I commend you and thank you for that.
Oh, wow. I would have never known that she was shy.
Yeah.
She's so far from shy to me, but
Oh, yeah.
we're
Yeah.
so thankful that we found you and that you guys, even though you've had to struggle so many years without really knowing about this community. And obviously a lot of it was, technology and people that are getting diagnosed like, yesterday and today have such a different community to lean on than there was in the past. And we're so grateful for the internet for that. Okay, well, if you don't have anything else to share at this time, I'm going to go ahead and go to our next panelist, but I wanted to just check in with you and see if that's all right.
Yep, that's fine. Thank you.
Well, we'll catch back up with you soon. Next up, I'm going to have Katie Miller, if you don't mind unmuting yourself and.
Yeah, there
Yep.
we go. Okay.
This is Katie and Latisse. So Katie Miller is a 20-year-old Georgia native. She is a 2022 graduate of Core Community School in Woodstock, Georgia. And I should probably get on your screen. So there we go. Sorry about that. Since graduating from high school, Katie has been employed by Chick-fil-A, where she worked in the dining room, and she's currently employed at Publix as a customer service associate. Katie is very active in her church and has been on several mission trips where she has helped on teams doing all sorts of outdoor cleanups and construction activities. Katie currently serves on the welcome team at her church and volunteers at church in the nursery and on the cleanup crew. She loves animals, especially dogs. She has experience with several youth drama groups and enjoys acting. And she is joined by her mom, Latisse. Welcome, guys.
Hello.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today. And I know that you didn't say in your bio, but I think it's important to note that you have worked closely with Jason Osborne, who was, talking earlier as part of our Career Pathways program. So we consider you not necessarily an alumni at this point because you're still kind of actively working with him, but that's something that, I think a lot of people don't know about the program. And so we're just glad that you were able to find us and we're able to kind of help you along your journey. So I'm going to give you the floor. And if there's anything you'd like to chat about, if you want to tell about when you were diagnosed, or if you want to talk about what you're currently doing now, it's totally open to you.
Okay, well, like you said, I graduated in 2022. The school was called Core Community. Right after high school, I applied to Chick-fil-A and I tried it twice, but because of health reasons, I was not able to do it. I took a few months off and then I decided to try to find another job, and my mom suggested Publix. And they asked for an interview. And then about a week later, they asked for another interview. And then I got hired right on the spot. I have been doing it for about 3 weeks. 3 weeks now. I really enjoy it. Everyone's really nice there. And it's probably been my favorite job that I've done.
That's great. I mean, I love your resiliency. We talked a lot about that when we were having our kind of prior meeting to this webinar with Jason is, even though you really liked the job and were doing well at Chick-fil-A, like obviously because of health reasons, you didn't have to. And I think that just is something to point out, with our communities, like health issues do come up in our community. And sometimes, even as adults, we have things that arise. But you were able to pivot and your pathway maybe changed slightly. But you were able to do it. And that's something to be commended for. So that's awesome. Well, congratulations on your new job.
Thank you.
Are there any other things you want to talk about that are currently on the slides?
Um,
Those people, I'm going to tell who some of those people are.
well, with the big picture, his name is Mr. Todd, and he was one of the guys or directors at my high school who kind of helped me find kind of what I wanted to do after high school. He was kind of one of the guys who helped me decide I want to go to Chick-fil-A, and he just kind of helped me along finding a job, I guess.
Yeah, and
He
her,
was-
her-
oh,
I was
go
going to say your school is kind of, or that you graduated from, is kind of a little bit of a different school, and sometimes you go
Mhm.
back there
to
on
volunteer.
Fridays and do volunteer stuff with them. Yeah, so
Oh.
that was they've been really great. The other people in the pictures are Katie's aunts and uncles on
Family.
both sides, and also her grandmother.
Mhm.
Those were all from her high school graduation day.
Mhm.
Oh, that's great. Well, we're so glad to have you here, Katie. And we're excited to talk more with you during the Q&A. Jason, did you have anything you wanted to ask?
Yeah, I was just gonna add in one of the things that we learned in Katie's situation is it's a good example that there are some employers who are very very open to being flexible with where employees work. And I think in Katie's situation at Chick-fil-A, she was able to find a kind of a niche area, but it was with a lot of people, and it led to obviously when you're interacting with that many people in such a close contact area, it was difficult. But it's also an example of the resilience that Lindsay brought up, that you just keep moving forward. And Katie, you've done a great job of saying, okay, well, maybe this will be a better opportunity, and just keeping that positive outlook has been a key thing that I've learned from you, Katie. So great job.
Yeah.
Oh.
And both of Katie's employers, Chick-fil-A and Publix, have been great about the schedule, working with Katie on her schedule. They both gave her shorter shifts and less number of shifts during the week.
Mhm.
So they're both awesome employers in my opinion.
That's great. Well, thank you so much, Katie and Letice. We will connect with you in a little bit. We're going to meet our next panel, so if you don't mind and sharing video. And next up, we're going to invite Brett Peavy to the stage, I should say, along with his parents, Lorelai and Ray. Brett is a 28-year-old from California. He was diagnosed at birth with truncus arteriosus, which is a heart defect. Years later, at age 9, he received his 22q diagnosis, but never really knew what it was. Brett admits he struggles with public speaking, though I've talked to him many times, and he is, I'd say, more fluent than I am, so he's doing great. He sometimes struggles with tests of any kind, math and English, but he has many accomplishments to report and be proud of. He's been working with Jason through our Career Pathways program as well for many years now. Jason has helped him build his LinkedIn account, Behance, I believe is how you say that, and setting goals for his next website. He loves getting recognized for what he enjoys most, building models. Brett has been featured in the news and papers and has worked for 4 big sports teams to build stadium models for the USC Trojan Football Athletics, San Diego Padres, LA Dodgers, and the Santa Ana College Football Athletics. His hobbies include building these models from scratch and playing golf with his friends. He also enjoys going to hockey, baseball, and football games, and he is joined by his parents, Lorelai and Ray. Welcome, guys.
Thank you. Hello.
So I had the pleasure of, I feel like we've talked throughout the years, but just recently, last week in preparation for this meeting, got to actually meet, face-to-face virtually. But I had the pleasure of receiving one of these models that he'll be sharing soon on the next slide. And I can just say that you have some amazing abilities, sir. I was blown away when I got it, and still just looking at all the stuff that you continue to do amazes me. So I'm going to give you the floor, and whatever you would like to talk about, you're up.
So what would you like me to talk about first?
Do you want to talk maybe about, I mean, anything that you see on this screen? Yeah, if you want to talk about anything you remember like as a kid, or were you always into sports? I know that sports is definitely plays a major kind of role in your life.
Yeah, so I played baseball and golf growing up, and mostly golf nowadays. And so the one in the bottom picture, that was me at Islands Golf Course when I was like 5 or 6, maybe. And I also played golf through high school as well
Oh, wow, that's awesome.
for
And
4 years.
how come, and then the interest obviously changed to baseball, or is that just because it's harder to make a, I guess, a golf course model than a baseball field?
Yeah, a
Stadium.
little bit trickier, but got to figure out how to do that too,
Yeah.
with the landscaping and everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, it started when I was like building Legos as a kid growing up, and then just moved from like cardboard to foam board and like different materials later on,
mhm.
and
And
like lots of LED lights for the light towers.
oh yeah, I mean the lights are bring it to another level.
Mhm.
Looking at some of these other pictures, obviously you've had some, major medical interventions. I know that you're also like the oldest one on this call, so I don't know if Ray or Lorelai want to touch on that. Like we've talked a little bit about it offline, but obviously the community has, continued to grow over the years, and technology and resources available. How did you guys kind of manage all of that early on?
Well, I don't think we were as lucky to know people or groups.
Yeah.
We were along the BCFS,
Mhm.
and we did go to some seminars. We did learn that way. But I think now the community that you've built is so much more supportive than what we had.
And easier.
Yeah.
Well, it's easy. Well,
And with Brett's diagnosis, he was about 7 years old, give or take,
Yeah.
nine years of age when he was formally diagnosed. We really knew there were some issues with his speech, and he was already in special classes at school, but we really didn't have a formal diagnosis until about 9 years of age. And of course, we would have loved to have known that much sooner so we could have intervened and got things going that much quicker. But it was just the way times were back then. It wasn't really as prevalent as it is now to screen for it and be more aware of what these challenges are for these kids at an earlier age.
anybody in this community knows it's a roller coaster, and you just ride it and you go with every day with how they feel, or and just be positive and just keep going, and next goal, you
Yeah.
know.
But I mean, Brett, Lorelai and I have just been amazed by the gift that he's been able to demonstrate and the skill that he has with building these models. And we just sit back and watch how people just enjoy how these models are built and the joy it gives them when he builds these models for them. And it's just quite an adventure to see the people he's met that we've been able to meet through Brett. I keep telling Brett, you introduced us to people I never thought I would ever meet in my life. So I mean, it's been quite an experience to share those experiences with Brett at the same time.
Yeah, well, while we're at it, let's talk about those models. We have some pictures. Some obviously you sent me way more than I could include. But wow, I mean, the model that you made of the Chicago Bears Stadium for my son Cohen was incredible. I mean, it was so detailed that I didn't even realize it. But when Cohen opened it that day on the big, Jumbotron board, whatever you call it, in the back of the stadium, it had like a picture that you put of our family, and it was just so detailed. So talk to us about this, and do you remember the first model that you made?
So I think the first one I made was the Angel Stadium that was on the cover photo that you have on the slide. That was like
The dark background.
12 or 13 years ago, that one.
Okay.
And then
Tell them how big it was.
it was like on a 4-foot by 4-foot plywood base, and it was like really huge and heavy.
Wow.
And then And so later on, I just started like wanting to build like all 30 ballparks, and that's what you see with all the hats next to them. And then for the next photo, that's with Peter Amelli, who's the former Dodgers owner of the team back in the 80s. And so that's a scale model of historic Dodger Town in Florida.
Wow. How did you decide to like start pursuing this? Like what
Would you say that again?
yeah, like how did you decide to start making models? I mean, you obviously had an interest in sports, but like there's a lot of people that are interested in sports that don't decide to go to like, I don't know, where you even get your supplies, the craft store or wherever, to start saying, I'm gonna make this, you know, a very realistic model of these stadiums.
Yeah, I think it started like when I wanted to like venture out with like different details of like materials and see what I can do, like how to make them to make it more realistic. And also the fun part is like delivering the stadiums to all these people that I met through social media, through friends, and mostly through word of mouth.
Wow. And on average, I think we talked offline, but on average, how long does it take you to make a model? I guess each one's kind of different as far as
Yeah, it depends on like what size they are, and like for the Vero Beach model that's right there, that one took like a little over a year, and that was like in between going to school at the same time.
wow.
But
And I know,
mostly depends on like how the size that they are.
yeah. And I know Jason's kind of worked closely with you as far as, you know, building your LinkedIn account and Behance, which I actually don't even know what that is. Jason, do you want to share anything about your time working with Brett?
Yeah, I think, you know, something that stood out to me is Brett is an example of, you know, many times we look at, okay, what's the job? You know, what's the job that we need to find that is you know, sometimes people refer to it as a 9-to-5 job that's the best fit. You know, what I keep going back to as we've worked with Brett is you have a talent that is, you know, ultimately it's more of an entrepreneurial endeavor than I'm going to go work for, you know, this person, which brings its own challenges because one of the things we've worked a lot with Brett on is how do you build a business when it's such a niche thing, like, you know, a model making. It's definitely a world that there's a need for it. It's just you have to be able to find the individuals who are looking for it. So, you know, what he's done a great job of is really starting with the network that he already has. And then we talk through different ways to reach out to individuals and set up conversations with them and really connect with them. What was that? Oh, sorry. To really connect with them.
Technical difficulties.
You're good. Is it not working or?
Everyone there?
Yeah,
We're here.
we're here.
We're here.
Must have been my internet going in and out. I apologize, Jason.
No, you're good. But yeah, I think Brett, you've done a great job of being willing to take that feedback and also really look at how do you use your skill and continue to build on it. So yeah, I guess that's the comments I would make around the journey that Brett is on now. But I especially appreciate that you are always looking at how you can do better and continue to expand your skill and your network.
Thank you, Jason. I want to thank you again for helping me set up with the LinkedIn account, also Behance as well.
And the support, the
Yeah.
helpful support.
Yeah, of course. It's very rewarding.
For sure.
Well, thank you, Brett and Lorelai and Ray, for sharing a little bit about yourselves. We're going to go ahead and move into the next portion, so you can go ahead and leave your camera on. So now it's time for our Q&A. I'm going to ask all of our panelists to turn on their videos. And we did have some questions that have already come in to the Q&A or the chat. You're welcome to continue to put those in there while we talk. Jason and I kind of came up with some questions. I probably should share my screen. Let me do Jason and I came up with some questions previously, just to give it a chance for our panelists to prepare for them. So we're going to start with those questions, and while you're kind of listening to those answers, if you have other questions we haven't covered, please feel free to put them in the chat or the Q&A. And I do see that there's already 2 in there, so we'll make sure to get to those as well. I'm going to do these as like general questions to all of you. We're going to start with the adults with 22Q. And if you feel comfortable sharing, go ahead and answer. And if you don't, you can just kind of listen to the responses. So I know we've already heard from some of you regarding your hobbies, but would anyone else on the panel, so either Katie, Gracie, or Brett, want to share more about other hobbies that they're into at this time?
Well, Grace has a small floral business besides doing her hobby, of Legos. She'll probably do like maybe 1 or 2 weddings a year. She used to work at a florist shop and did 40 hours a week, which then became too much with like stress, anxiety, breakdowns all the time. So I said, you know what, let's just tone it back and take another step in life. So I said, just go into business for yourself, make it something that still is fun. So yeah, so that's something I'd like to share. That's her, creativity comes out best when she's arranging flowers. It's just beautiful.
Awesome.
Yeah, anything you want to say, Brett?
Don't feel like you have to fill the silence either. I'm more just like,
If
Uh,
anything at the moment.
Well, I'll say one thing. I think what myself as a parent, I think what we have to understand with our kids is that we can't underestimate what they're capable of doing. There are times when I felt like, how is Brett going to do this? How is he going to get through this? How is he going to complete this? And he gets it done. And I'm watching how he budgets his time to build these models and the intricacy and taking the necessary steps. He's thought it all out. I mean, for me to try to figure all this out, it would be impossible. So I think it's some for they have to have some time on their own to be able to do these things. And it's helpful to give some guidance. But I got to tell you, they get it figured out too. And I'm sure Brett's not the only one that has been able to do this. I'm sure there's a lot of them out there that are able to get things figured out with a little bit of help here and there.
And without pressure.
Without pressure too.
A little bit of both.
Yeah. But he knows about deadlines, so I'll tell you that.
Yeah, they don't underestimate the ability that these children have. Like, I mean, they're always going to be our babies, so I just call her my kid. But these young adults will, have amazing abilities that I think that if we sit back and we tend to coddle them or baby them too much and not give them that adult support, we harm them in the long run. But always being able to give them that sense of support and abilities that tell them that they can reach to the moon is, I think, something we all need to do for each kid.
Right.
Yeah, and I will say, running the foundation since 2016, a lot has changed as far as the delivery of the diagnosis. It isn't getting improved as far as the way that they present the information, especially to a prenatal diagnosis. So, I know that there's lots of people out there, probably some that are currently on this call, that, when their child was diagnosed, it was basically read as a death sentence, that they're not gonna be able to walk, talk, do a lot of things. And then look at the 3 of you amazing people sitting here with us today, and, thousands more in our community. I think there was a lot that was misunderstood about the diagnosis, and obviously it is a spectrum disorder. And so, again, like Jason said earlier with the caveat, like, you guys are just 3 examples of our community, and there's a lot of variation with that. But I love it what you said, Monica, is like, just kind of being positive and pushing them as much as you can, because you guys, look what you're doing. It's incredible. I wanted to go on to our next. Jason, do you have something to say? Or I was going to go on to our next.
Yeah, I was just gonna ask Katie, when you did your interviews with Publix, you mentioned you had a couple of them. you did those on your own, is that right?
Yes, I did.
Okay, so I mean, I think that those steps in that direction, I mean, Monica, you called it out as, you know, I think Letice does a great job of supporting Katie and saying, you know what, let's give you the confidence, let's build you up, but you have to go to the interview, and you know, you're not, she didn't answer the questions for you, she didn't tell you what to say. And so I would just have those who are parents of young adults start thinking through, what would that look like? What if my child went in for an interview and I wasn't there and I didn't tell them what to say? And I think it means be okay with them saying things. And this stands out to me because there's been times where the parent feels like they need to correct their child when they're working with me. And it's like, no, it's good. Like, get out anything you need to say and say it however you need to say it, because you know, we're practicing and we're getting through those experiences of talking with people who are outside of our family. And if there's always that crutch of someone else jumping in saying, oh, I think you mean this, this, and this, it won't prepare them for like Katie's situation where she goes in for the interview. So I just wanted to add that piece.
Thank you, Jason. Does anyone want to kind of talk about just like what a typical day looks like for them? I know that sounds silly, but I think we're all, you know, you guys are all doing different things, and love to hear kind of your typical day.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll go first.
So my typical day is I get up, I get dressed, I help my mom with my nephew because he's a handful. Get him off to school or to his babysitters, and then we go to work. I go to work with her to clean houses. So
Yeah, we usually do about 2 houses in a day, and you know, we'll stop and take a break in the afternoon, and having her work with me is kind of nice too, because if I see we're having a bad arthritis day, you know, I can tell her, hey, take a minute, sit down, I got that. You know, or if she sees that I'm having a bad day, she'll say, hey mom, sit down, take a minute, I got that. You know, so it's amazing to me how they're, like I said, again, just because you have a disability doesn't make you disabled. You are still capable and able to do everything like everyone else. You just do it differently. So if she scrubs something differently than I do, but we still get the same progress, where I'm good with it, you know? So yeah, that's basically how our day goes. And then we come home and get dinner done, do dishes, and off to bed and start it all over.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing, guys. Does anyone else want to share about their typical day?
So for our days, it's like I usually like get up and like work for like a few hours, and then help my mom and dad around the house as well, and then also go out like on long walks, and then definitely like need a break from sitting all day, and then go to sports games when we can, and then lots of that.
You're sitting in model building, right?
Huh?
You're sitting in model building is what you're doing, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
Time consuming, I'm sure.
Yeah, and Brett's he's a great companion. I mean, like you said, we go to a lot of sporting events, and I think I'm kind of like a big kid to him sometimes, more than a father, but
True.
We're a tight family.
But he's a lot of fun. He's got a great sense of humor, and I think that's really a trait I really appreciate out of him. And he likes to speak with me and talk to me and carry great conversations. So, but yeah, he's
Blessed.
when he says he sits for quite a while, obviously it's for the model building,
Yes.
and he doesn't really focus in on too much more than that. That's really his goal there.
Concentrates.
A lot.
Thank you for sharing, guys.
You're welcome.
Okay, so for me, for what I do, I get up, I get ready for work. I work from 11 to 3. I'll come home. I am currently in this discipleship group with my church. We are reading the Bible from front to back. So I come home and read for a few hours. Sometimes if I'm really tired, I'll take a nap. I'll play with my dog Mason and eat dinner, go to the gym, eat dinner, and go to sleep.
He's very well-rounded. Awesome. Thank you for sharing, Katie. Next question. How have you used your talents to provide service or help to others? By the way, don't feel like obligated to answer all these. So if just one of you answers, that's fine. If no one answers, not a big deal.
Well, I think with Grace, like she's so creative and artistic, like not only doing the shirts with the storefront, she also has that creative with the florals. So her being able to put her talent and show it, it's amazing because she's able to take those moments for these gals who are getting these beautiful wedding bouquets, and you know, and those pictures are going to last that family a lifetime. So it's amazing for me to see her work because I'm like, oh my gosh, that's a forever thing. So it's pretty cool that she's very creative and is able to do that. Yeah, definitely put smiles on other people's faces.
That's for sure.
Anyone else want to share?
I think for with mine is was to like for the model that I have on display at Dodger Stadium is to like show like fans like how to get around the ballpark, like show them like where their tickets are, their seats are, and then mostly what else?
We do like to go and watch
And also-
other people look at his stadiums,
Mhm.
and it brings you joy.
Yeah, and see what their reactions are like,
Yeah.
and see what the
kids.
fans think of,
Yeah.
and the kids.
Yeah, I mean, especially people that are big sports buffs like our family, to be able to have a model of a stadium that, you know, unless you actually go to it and are sitting in it, you don't see on a daily basis, to be able to have that in your house is really cool. So
Perfect piece for your room.
exactly. And I told you earlier, but my husband and son are constantly fighting over where the Bear Stadium goes, if it's in his office or in Cohen's room. Since
Oh, nice.
no, it was intended for Cohen. Somehow my husband got a little
I'm a little jealous.
jealous. Okay, we have some more questions. We have some questions that came in. I want to make sure that we get those answered. So these are just, you know, general questions, and if anyone wants to answer them, please go ahead and do so. Jason, I think this is for you. Is there a place where we can find a list of companies who are more open to hiring people with abilities or unique needs? Thought for a second. We'll come back to that. I think Jason had to step out for a second. Okay, this is for all panelists, and anyone can answer who would like to. What advice would you give to high school kids with 22Q about what they can do now to help them prepare for life after high school? So you guys have all gone through high school. You're older than that. Is there anything, recommendations or things that you're like?
I think what helped me was being on IEP. That helped a lot because they would take kids who are on IEP into a different room to do testing. Because I was one of those kids who can't do testing in a big area that's loud. So I think that was very helpful.
I think the transition too from high school and finishing there and then going into the real world was, I mean, my advice to those parents is be patient. There are going to be days when you're going to want to pull your hair out because sometimes there are employers that don't want to work with you because you are different. You know, that you know, they judge a book by its cover and forget to open the book and read what's in there, because, you know, we're all different. So I think I would just explain to parents, be patient. Just because that job said no, that doesn't mean there's another one that's going to turn you down. Keep trying, be persistent, be patient.
That's what helped me a lot too, by taking tests in a separate room, like trying not to be with other students, and like with all the commotion going around with like kids getting up and moving around, definitely like focused a lot more.
Yeah.
In college, did they do that?
And in college too.
That's
A
awesome.
little bit of college.
Mhm.
Good job.
Good job.
I think the ROP class that he took in high school, so you can look at those kinds of things too.
Yeah.
He took an architecture class that, of course, he took to that.
Mhm.
Never really needed help in that class too much.
Well,
But then the
Yeah,
teacher
mostly-
did let him do what
yeah.
he wanted to do.
Yeah.
So it was and we talked to him, even been in the class 3 times this week. He's still getting help from his high school.
Mhm. Yeah, so like visit there like once in a while, and it's like the first time in like 4 years since before COVID started, by going back to school, visiting former teachers.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
awesome.
So you have that
Yeah.
rapport for a long time.
It's so ironic because Gracie does the same thing. The school that she graduated from and got her floral degree from, those teachers are still the
Mhm.
people we reach out to for like buying the flowers and getting the equipment that she needs. And, you know, when she's got a wedding to do, we go through them to, you know, their warehouse, and they order the flowers for us. So it's amazing to make those good connections that you can go back to, you know, with those high school teachers that, you know, saw the ability in your kid. It's amazing. That's ironic that you have the same. That's
Yeah,
amazing.
definitely.
One thing I would say too is regarding that question is Jason, for our Career Pathways program, which you can find out more about on our website. He will start working with individuals as young as 13, 14 years old. And I'm sure that Brett or Katie could, you know, talk about this, that over time, you're kind of building that relationship with Jason. And so, you know, if you do get a job and then you lose it, like you have someone to reach out to that's not mom and dad, you know, someone to help you practice, you know, resume writing, interview skills, all those things. He's kind of like a constant in a lot of these young adult and adult lives. So just something I wanted to throw out there.
That's awesome.
Mhm.
Yeah, so for that, it's like basically like gotta like keep trying. Like if it doesn't work out, you can always like try again, and then see if other people would, if you can help them out, or if they would help you, and to see if you could get that specific job that you're always wanting.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think resiliency is definitely a common theme in this community, you know, whether it's when these kids are babies, learning how to talk, walk, eat, do, you know, things that to neurotypical kids are very easy and natural. That kind of sometimes does continue, you know, into the young adult and adult life. And sometimes things, like Jason said earlier, are slightly delayed. So we also get questions a lot of, you know, like, when is my child going to be interested in dating or driving? And sometimes those things are also delayed. And that's just because, you know, you guys are all on your own time clocks, but you always get usually to where you need to go. And just something we've kind of noticed over the years with conversations with individuals in our community too. So let's see what other questions I have. I'm gonna save these Jason ones for him in a second. What has been your biggest challenge? And this can be like job related, you know, living as an adult. This can also be early on in your life. Anything that you would like to share about your biggest challenge?
No challenges.
I'm sure the parents.
I can think of a few.
I mean, I think of a few, but I don't know.
Isn't it true though, as parents, we kind of we've been through all the things with them, and so we, you know, Those things resonate with us and things that we're never going to forget, a lot of those things. But for the adults on the panel, okay, we'll go on to the next question. What would you like to thank your parents for? Was there something in particular that they did for you that you think was helpful? So resources that they found for you, therapies that they provided, just advice. Obviously, you know, some of you have siblings, some of you do not. And I know personally, I have 2 children, one with 22q, one without, and I tend to be much more of a researcher when it comes to my son coming with 22q. I feel like I'm always having to be on top of things. And I hope that one day, my husband and I always joke that, you know, he's going to be the one to take care of us when we're older, just because of how much we've done for him. I'm curious if the adults on the panel want to, you know, talk to their parents, since we're lucky to have all of the parents join us, and thank them for anything.
I think mine would be, I have told you this many times, that my parents raised me by being quote unquote normal. They never really babied me. They told me I could do things without having to do things without their permission. Kind of let me spread my wings a lot. But they never let my disability be a part of me, that I couldn't do it.
I love this. I'm gonna be the emotional.
I know, right?
About to make me cry.
You cry every time I tell you that.
Every time it gets me.
Yeah, I think that would be it. My parents raised me very well about that.
Yeah, you're normal. You're just doing things differently. That's all.
They don't judge me for it, you know.
And we let her make the mistakes, you know, like just like your typical children, you have to let them make mistakes and learn. You know, every child falls and skins their knee. You know, that's not going to be the first time, and it's certainly not the last. I mean, that happens as an adult. So just wipe it up and let's keep moving.
Yeah,
you know, like just giving her normalcy.
They treat me like my other siblings who don't have a disability.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I think that would be it.
So I like to thank my parents for helping me learn through this through my early age, when I was just starting to figure out what this 22q was all about, and also driving me to places where I need to go, and what errands that I have to do to pick up my supplies or stuff. And I just love hanging out with them.
It's a good thing.
I think mine would probably be that I was raised in a Christian household, because that's been one thing that I can kind of lean on and depend on. And whenever I need help or I'm struggling, I can depend on God. And that's been really cool.
that's right. Faith goes a long way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, we know that one too.
Much for sharing. Just taking a lot of questions coming in here. Okay, we have another question for the panelists. Have any of you tried living separate from your parents yet? I mean, we're all different ages here. Obviously, Brett's the oldest and Katie's the youngest, but have you ever spent any time away? And maybe it was a camp, maybe it was part-time. Yep. Is that something that even interests you? And if you don't feel like commenting, you don't have to respond.
Yeah, I haven't lived without my parents yet. They don't push that on me, no matter how old I get. But I do go out a lot without them sometimes. Mm-hmm. I go with my cousins, and my cousins and I were very close, and we're all pretty much close in age too. Mm-hmm. So I go out with them a lot. I go out with my own friends a lot. That's about it. I never really.
You've gone on a cruise by yourself?
Yes, I gone on a cruise by myself. That was a big thing. kind of nervous for them, but it was really fun.
I was nervous. She was fine.
So that's about it. I mean, I'm gonna go on a trip to Disneyland without them. So, or Disney World, sorry.
Yeah,
Wow.
in January. So
Yeah.
yeah, we just let her spread her wings and fly. We're like, just go, you know.
Mhm.
Can't let everything hold you back. You've got to be able to be that person that you want to be. So just go.
I love it.
I haven't like really left yet either. Still living in my parents' home, but I guess there's like not really a need to yet, but I do want to someday.
Yeah,
then
I mean,
Also, also
there's many people that are 30 and 40 that still live at home, and that's totally fine too. I think the
true.
question is probably coming from like a question regarding independence, which we all you know, wonder about with our having kids that are younger, if that's something that they'll want one day or not. And so I appreciate that answer, Brett.
Welcome.
We have a few questions that came in about social situations and friends. So I'm going to try to combine them. How did you deal with social situations in high school, having friends and being able to communicate with them? My daughter struggles with this a lot. And to tie in with that, just kind of keeping friends. Do you guys have a lot of friends? Or has it been challenging? Does anyone else to bring this?
For me, that's been really hard. I learned. Sorry.
It's okay. When you I think with like Gracie, she held on to one friend for so long, and then when there's a fallout, I don't think she realized how hard that was going to be. Even though it's been 5 years since the fallout, it's still an emotional tie. So for her, having friends was hard. So that, you know, I'm sure we've all been there, but
Yeah.
you know, and I've always told her, you know, friends will come, friends will go. I go, I'm not the same friends that I had when I was in high school. You know, I moved away, you know, we moved on. I said, so this will happen to you too, but I don't think that was quite what she ever thought was going to happen. And now she's like my best friend. So
Yeah.
she got a win out of it. That's what I tell her all the time. You
Well,
got to win because you got me.
and
So
also,
we're good.
Like I am thankful because I have such a big family. There's how many kids of us? Like 12, 13 of us.
Yeah, and those are just
And-
the youngers.
Yeah, and we're all very close. So I'm thankful that I have them to lean on.
Because they're not just family, they're actually are her best friends. They're the same age that she is. She went to school with them, graduated with them. So yeah, those little family members have just really been the best friends she could have, minus myself. But.
Yeah.
Thank you. It's a touchy question, and I appreciate. I'm sorry to make you emotional about it.
Okay.
She got it. We're good.
I think what helped Brett when he was in high school was, again, sports, because a boy. But a building team. I mean, he didn't involve himself with everybody on the team, but he had a very close one or two, and he's kept those relationships up, and they still go and play. Sometimes it gets harder because they go different ways. But
that's the hard part about after graduating high school, because everybody's like spread out everywhere.
Yeah.
But I think having something, and again, it's watching them when they're a child and a toddler. What brings them joy to their face when they're doing something, and just take that and go.
Yeah. I'm thankful too because I'm very close with my brother that lives here. Him and I actually share mutual friends a lot. So when I get to go out with my brother, I get to see my old friends again sometimes when we go to the bars and stuff. So that's kind of nice too, that I still get to see them from here and there.
Yeah.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, when my sister moved out to Florida, we go like maybe once or twice a year, and happen enough that she lives like right above the Publix market in her community area. And but it's a lot of fun to like see her out there, and also like explore like what Florida looks like in like different areas, and also see all the alligators, what other stadiums are like out there.
He and his sister were very close,
Mhm.
so it is hard having her far.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially when she travels a lot through her work.
Work.
Yeah.
Well, I think too, you know, the more technology that we have and people that are interested in connecting, I know Gracie has kind of tried to pioneer this a lot with really connecting young adults and adults with 22Q. Sometimes it's not so easy, but I think too, just connecting with others like yourself or people that have the same interests, you know, as you, just trying, I know I do that a lot for my kid now because he's 9. But we talk a lot about you know, here at the foundation of just building in that self-advocacy too, you know, along the way, so that mom and dad don't have to help with like scheduling, you know, events and things for you guys to do in your free time when you're older, but just kind of, you know, tapping into your interests and skill set, just kind of what Jason always talks about at Career Pathways, to help with both, you know, your career choices, job choices, but also, you know, friendships, because that's going to bring you lots of joy. I have a little visitor, so give me 1 second.
Hi, Cohen.
Sorry about that. Sorry, slight difficulty, but that's my kid Cohen just coming in to say, Mom, can I check to see if Amazon came with the package yet? Oh. You know, there's never a dull moment, but yeah, I know this community understands. Difficult, we'd have different issues. I appreciate you guys talking and answering those questions. We have a few more questions that came in. One is just regarding trying to help their 26-year-old son find the connection between what he wants to do professionally and what he can do. He has a full-time job employed by a company that works specifically with people with disabilities, but there's an ongoing dissatisfaction triggered by ideas he has based on what other people do for a living compared to what he can do. So I know Jason talks a lot about this, probably with Katie and Brett. Really tries to hone in on the fact that, you know, that first job that you get or the first internship that you get is, you know, sometimes a stepping stone, you know, to your career, your full-time job. It's and not to get discouraged. And it is hard to kind of look at other, you know, friends or individuals your age that might be on a different path or doing something that you want to do that you're not able to do at that point. I don't know if either Katie or Brett want to talk about that, how that's been. I know you both have been super resilient in the different jobs and choices that you guys have made, and really honing in on your interests and skills. That was kind of a long-winded question. Has that been a challenge, to kind of find what you're interested in and then choose a job opportunity around that?
Not really, but like once you find something that you like to do, and then you can definitely do it.
Yeah.
I can do anything.
I was just going to say that something that Jason was saying in his presentation about how it's not necessarily something where you're going to get a degree to get a job, but to get practical experience. If you have some general ideas of interest, you could probably pursue maybe an internship with a local company or business. Maybe the employer wouldn't have the financial obligation initially to pay, but at least provide the experience to see if it were an environment that would be right for that person that is looking into that. And I think you would have more opportunity to see a lot of various jobs under those situations. So I would think that would be a good way to pursue finding an angle or occupation that might suit you, possibly even taking some of these with some assistance, of course, some of these tests that you can get a projection of what those interests match up to. And it might say this person's best suited to work in manufacturing, or this person answer the questions that are best suited for taking orders, customer service, computer work. I watched Brett negotiate programs on a computer, and I never really thought he would have that skill level to do that. And yes, it's come through trial and error and repetition, but it demonstrates that, again, you cannot underestimate what these kids can do, what these grown-ups can do, what these young men and women can do. And they just have to have the opportunity to try it. And there's no such thing as failure. It's just, again, like Gracie's mother was saying, just finding a way that works, a different angle, a different approach. But I think there's unique opportunities for this area for them to find work or find an interest by getting out there and visiting some of these companies through a volunteering or internship.
Yeah, and I know Jason talks a lot about internships. Obviously, most of the time internships are unpaid, but such a great way to get experience and really feel out the waters. And don't we kind of all wish we had the opportunity to do that? You know, there's so many people, myself included, went to school and got a degree in education to be a teacher. And then, you know, life gets in the way. I had my son with 22q and I had to completely abort that plan and change my pathway like we talk about here. And now I'm running a foundation and it brings me so much joy and love. And you know, teachers don't get paid anything. I get paid even less at the foundation, but it doesn't matter to me because it's important work. And I've been able to, you know, connect with such amazing individuals and communities. So I appreciate you talking about that, Ray. Next question is there a goal or wish that you have in mind for yourself next? And thank you for sharing your stories. They are so inspiring, as one person asked. So is there a goal or a wish that you have in mind for yourself next?
For me, probably just more weddings. I am hoping to get more weddings this year. It's been kind of slow in the floral industry right now. But other than that, I think mine would be getting another wedding or some sort of an event or order.
An event would be nice.
An event would be very nice to get, but like,
I think they froze a little bit.
but like I said, right now it's surprisingly it hasn't been quite as busy yet. So
I think that's a great goal, and I think it's something that you can accomplish for sure. Thanks for sharing, Gracie.
you're welcome.
Yeah, I think for me is like trying to like learn how to get a website started, so like, it's easy for people to search the name, and if they don't have like social media, they can use a website to look up the name and view more photos of the artwork through that way. And also like try to work with another major sports team, like get connected to.
Very cool. I'm sure Jason can help you with that.
Definitely.
He builds for fun if he doesn't have a job. So our house is full of models. So, yes, it'd be nice if he was busier too.
Me with my flowers.
Yeah. I'm right there with you, hon. I'm right there with you.
Oh, flowers, Lego or not, good.
Right.
Yeah.
Just don't step on them.
Sure.
Yeah, and I was just gonna say, with being entrepreneurial, like Jason was saying, that's probably the challenge, is just Brett's always working for the next job opportunity, the next model build, versus if you're in a situation where you're at a job working a 40-hour work week, you pretty much know what your obligation is there, and you have a dependable situation that has income to it. So but for Brett, he's done pretty good. I mean, just when you think things are kind of slowing down, something that he worked on, that he sowed the seeds of a while back, comes to fruition for him. So he's been able to be very adamant about going out and building those networks, and they tend to come back. And
Sometimes.
yeah, I mean, there's highs and lows, but you know,
He likes a good challenge.
yeah, but that's probably the biggest goal, I think, for him. I think he'd agree, is just making sure that he keeps a steady flow of business coming in. And I do everything I can through my contacts, and Lorelei does, but he does a lot of work, you know, through social media and his LinkedIn accounts and things, and he's been able to get some good contacts that way.
Thank you, Jason.
Thank you.
Having some technical difficulties because he's not able to log on for some reason. I'm sorry, Katie, did you want to share about a goal or wish for yourself?
Yeah, one goal I have is eventually I want to start working in the bakery at Publix.
Oh,
Ooh,
there you go.
Yeah.
you like to bake?
I do, yes, I love baking.
Okay.
I
What's
like
your
to
favorite
eat
food to make?
I like the pastries too.
Oh, there we go.
I can agree.
Win-win.
I have one more question for the adults, and then we're gonna I have two questions for the parents that are joining us. So I think a few of you have discussed going to some college, or if not full college. Someone had asked, what were the challenges of applying to college, and did you look for those programs or colleges that were geared for individuals with learning disabilities, or a technical kind of program? I don't know if Katie, I know you attended some, and Brett mentioned attending some, if you want to share.
I think it's mostly for when you're trying to find the right classes that you want, what you want to do for as a job, and then just like make sure like if it's like the best fit for you.
His IEPs setting him up to basically go to one school, and then his choice of architecture, that narrowed it down anyway. But it was just a junior college for a couple.
More than a couple years.
How many?
2014 through 19.
Yeah.
Yeah, long time.
Yeah.
And it was a class at a time, so take your time. Math was a huge
Struggle.
struggle, and in college you can only take the class 3 times.
Yeah.
He did that,
Pretty much 3 times on every course.
yeah, on every course. So
Yeah.
it was a lot of, but he kept up to it. He kept doing it, and you know, if you do it once and you take it again, it gets a little easier. You
Third
know
time's a
what's
charm.
coming, but it is different than
Yeah.
high school.
Well, and Brett, when he went to junior college, the classes that he did well in and excelled in were classes that had the interest for him, which were architectural classes, model building,
But it involves a lot of math.
doing projects like that. But his goal was never to be an architect, because that would be very difficult because of the mathematical background. But I think the professors there really appreciated what he was capable of doing, of physically building things. And I think there was a pretty good accommodation as a result of that.
That's why computers are like always hard to like figure out like all the different programs to use.
Yeah. But yeah, he's evolved
So it
quite a
was a
bit.
struggle, but
Yeah.
and
But
we
it was
just-
still-
we phased out. That's
It
what
was
happened.
still a very good experience for him to go to a junior college to get that experience, and he's been able to apply that to his work that he does now.
Mhm.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing, guys. Katie's, I don't know if Katie's on meeting, or am I just reading that wrong? So anyone else want to talk about challenges applying to college, or if you're like, it wasn't even for me?
No.
And that's okay. Okay, so we put the adults on the panel to a lot of hot topics. I truly appreciate you guys being so courageous to kind of share your stories. We had someone that just wrote a comment that said, it's such an honor to meet these families and see examples of positivity and resilience. That has been a great gift. Thank you for sharing your time, your experiences, and your advice. We're very grateful. So you guys are changing lives just by, giving a little piece of your life to them. I did have a question or two for the parents, since we do have the opportunity of having all the parents on with us. What advice would you have for a younger parent who's entering this journey? So, looking back, obviously, if time wasn't an issue and you could go back and change things, some people have no regrets, some people do, but what just general advice you have for a younger parent that might have just, received a diagnosis that their child has 22q, what would you tell them?
Oh, well, I would say to that parent that you are made for this moment, that the decisions that you're going to make are going to be the right decisions. Doctors will say things at you, throw things at you, and you're going to sit there and wonder, like, am I doing this right? What you're doing is right because it fits for your family. Don't compare yourself to the next one. This is your family. This is how it works. And this is where you're going to make it go forward. But it's all going to be the right decision. Like, I personally don't have any regrets in the way that I taught Grace to be who she is. And because of that, I think she's turned out to be a pretty good human being, like, we did a good job. But a lot of that was just knowing and being confident in my decision of, okay, the doctor said she's not going to talk. I say she will. And it was persistence of constantly, working with her and sign language. And then the signing went from speaking, and now we are quiet. That shy little girl is now bloomed, and it's amazing. But it's because the decisions that we made were the right decisions. We didn't say, don't take no as an answer. You have to move forward.
Mhm.
Beautifully said.
We did the same thing about the signing.
See, it's amazing.
Language. It just, you
Yes.
just go with the flow, and just like you would with your other children, you would just help them where they need help and get to their level and support and it's a huge thing when they're little. It's a huge thing when they're adult. It's just different. It's
Yeah.
But you get their import too, or support. You support.
Yeah.
Right.
I would also
thankful.
say
Yeah.
too that this is probably one of the best times if you're a young parent coming into this, that there's so much more information available than, say, when Lorelai and I first found out Brett was diagnosed back in, like, when he was 8-9 years of age. We were still kind of like out on an island about this, and we kind of had to judge and we had to have a sense of trust that we were able to make some good decisions just based on who we are and as parents. And then slowly we started to filter in some advocacy groups and different approaches, and went to some seminars and some meetings and things. But now I think a young parent has so much to be able to pull from, such as your foundation, Lindsay, and forums of other parents that are going through the same thing you're going through. And not everybody has the right answer, but you can pull together little pieces that could maybe fit and work for you, and take that information. So I think it's getting involved as early as possible once you get a diagnosis of this condition, and not feel that you're alone. There's so many other people out there that you can have help from and get advice from. And so that would be my advice, is get early involvement as quickly as possible.
We did it without, but
Yeah,
it
worked out. It
blind.
worked out, but it
hard way.
made it very
hard.
challenging. Yeah, it was challenging.
his heart defect was all we knew.
Yeah.
And they, you know, so we were doing that for so long.
Yeah.
And being the second survivor at our children's hospital here, there wasn't anybody. We had the first survivor who's about 1.5 years older. So, and neither of us knew about 22q. We'd ask the doctors, why aren't they not speaking? Why are they not sitting up? Why are they not? And the heart doctor cares about the heart, and that's all we ever knew. But the 22q came in, and it's like, oh,
Okay,
you know,
yeah.
through a
Normal.
Yeah.
yeah, it's been a roller coaster. But if you can do it, if we could do it without anything, to have the support of the 22q Foundation, I think is everything.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, guys, for sharing that. I think also too, I mean, I only have a 9-year-old, about to be 10, but something that I always tell usually pregnant moms that call hysterical with the diagnosis, which is becoming more and more common, is just to enjoy them as if you would any other baby, because they are still a baby and they're going to do some amazing things in life. And we don't usually put barriers, you know, or road bumps like on our other kids. So why would we do it with these kids? But I think because our population is so medically fragile early on, it's harder to do that, you know, especially if you are, obviously it's a spectrum, but if you are more medically affected in the beginning, it's so much harder to enjoy them because you're just trying to keep them alive, you know? And I think it's just amazing to see, you know, for me personally, having a 9-year-old, to see all 3 of you here, you're all doing different things. You're all just so inspiring. It gives me so much hope as a parent. And I think learning so much from all of the parents that are on here of, you know, things that I can continue to do to improve upon. There is no handbook for this, you know, we're all kind of in this together on this road. And I really appreciate what you said, Ray, about just finding that community, because I feel like luckily now with technology, the people that are getting diagnosed now, it's just a whole different ballgame. And with Facebook groups and support groups and the foundations that are out there to help, it makes things a lot more manageable, and also just kind of reminding everyone that we're not alone. So I appreciate that. So I want to be cognizant of everyone's time. I just have a few last slides, some final thoughts and resources to share with you all. So everyone has a different pathway to success. We've obviously talked a lot about this. We've talked about flexibility, being realistic. We touched on this a little bit, teaching self-advocacy and independence skills throughout their lives. And I think this is something that you can learn more about. We did a webinar, I think about a year ago on our YouTube channel. You can find it. But it's teaching self-advocacy skills from early on. I think for a lot of us, we're quote unquote helicopter parents, you know, I hate that term, but, you know, trying as much as possible to build in the advocacy steps at an early age to build that independence, so that when our kids do get to high school and are transitioning to adulthood, whether they're living at home or not, there is a huge jump. And I think a lot of what we hear and a lot of what Jason hears is there's no transition. It's just, we've always advocated for them their whole lives, at their doctor's appointments, their therapies throughout school. And now they're supposed to do it all by themselves and go to these doctor's appointments alone. And so I think there's so much to learn from that, you know, whether it's when your kids, you know, 11 or 12, or when they're able to start asking questions to the doctor. You know, that's something I've been trying to work on, because I think early on I was just sending my kid in with an iPad because he was being so traumatized by, you know, getting poked and measured and all those things, that I was trying just to kind of give him this safe space. But I've been rethinking that and, you know, talking to him like, hey, do you have questions for the doctor? Instead of mom just asking, to kind of build, you know, those advocacy steps along the way. Apply and take advantage of resources. Ray shared a lot about this, find a supportive community, lean into your child's skills and interests. I think we talked a lot about that tonight. There are resources available. Career Pathways, we talked about it all night, is a free program to all families in our community. You just go to our website. I will make sure on a follow-up email to send you the specific link to apply for those services. But Jason basically tailors his conversation to you and your child's needs. Connect with others like yourself or families in our 22Q community. You can visit our website for more information, and please follow us on social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and also have a YouTube channel, and all of those are at 22Q Family. And if you would like to connect, I'm going to leave this slide up last for a while so you can copy this down. If you would like to connect with these incredible humans I put there, these are different ways to get a hold of them. So I will just leave that up. And yeah, this was a very inspiring conversation. I know that we're going to have tons of views of this later on our YouTube channel, because it is definitely the most popular question we get asked. And I think it's been amazing to see both, all Gracie, Katie, and Brett talk about their strengths, their interests, what they're doing with their lives. Yes, there were bumps along the way, but they're all smiling and happy and amazing human beings that we can celebrate tonight. So thank you guys so much for being part of this call. I know it took a lot of courage. You guys are all amazing public speakers. You put me to shame, and just want to appreciate you guys and your parents for joining us tonight and being able to share a little bit of glimpse into your lives.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you guys. Well, have a good night. And chat with you soon. Oh, last thing I should probably share is next in 2 months is our November Awareness Month 2023. We're having a photo contest. So if you go to bit.ly/22Q contest, you can enter to win an I Can, I Will t-shirt. We encourage everyone to get involved, raise awareness, and fundraise. This is our biggest fundraising month of the year. This is really what helps the foundation continue to go throughout the year. We raise about 80% of our fundraising between the months of November and December. And this just allows us to do more things for the community. So 99% of what we offer is free to the community, between the Career Pathways program we talked about tonight, our Education Station program that is more geared for preschool through transitioning through adulthood, through kind of educating the school staff and helping out with IEP support. And then we also offer scholarships along with webinars like these and different events in person and virtually. So please consider getting involved in November. It is the 22Q Awareness Official Month. And again, thank you guys all for joining us, and I hope you all have a great night.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.